Hello, hello. I'm Strider, your host here at Author in the Headlights, and thank you for joining. Before we get into today's interview, I want to ask if you'll go down in that corner, hit the subscribe button, and you won't miss a single episode. Today, actually, we've got a great Sarah Martin with us. Good morning, good afternoon. No, you're good morning, Sarah.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Strider. Thank you for having me.
You bet. And I say that oddly because Sarah is in Australia, and so she is actually in the future. She's tomorrow morning for me.
That's it.
Yep. And I'm on this afternoon. Well, I guess I'm just behind. That's all. So, and we had some problems bouncing that around because, this is truly an international incident here, and that's pretty good. Yeah, I've done Canadian things, but that's just right around the corner. So, this is definitely somewhere else in the world. And I want to thank you for spending your time coming here with us. Now, you have written a book that came out that is this the title of it caught my interest, Dear Psychosis. How did you come up with that title?
As writers know, coming up with a title can be really easy or really hard. And it was probably about 3 months before I was going to publish the book, and I still didn't have a name. I had working titles and nothing fit. And I woke up one morning and went, I've got the title. And I said to my family, how about this? But it's Dear Psychosis, comma, because
Yes.
there is not a full stop in mental health, is what I think, like it's there is no full stop. That's it.
Now, it is not a novel. This is kind of a self-help memoir kind of thing, but it's also just family trauma incident, correct?
That's right. A narrative nonfiction. So it's told through my eyes, my daughter that had the psychosis and then was subsequently diagnosed with bipolar affective disorder. And that was probably 2 years after her first psychosis. It was really lucky. We were very, very lucky how everything panned out, but I'd love to take the luck out of mental health.
True. And just being a parent, I can't imagine the stress you went through because she wasn't at home during this time. She was clear across the world as far away or worse than I am to you. And in Turkey, Istanbul, is that
That's
where it
it.
occurred?
That's it. That's it. Traveling by herself. So I got a message from a stranger. And of course, the first thing is, oh my God, it's a scam. Who is this person? And
Or worse.
or worse,
Yes.
absolutely. And we're being drawn into it. We spoke to Alice. She was very quiet, but we were unsure. And then we decided to go across to Istanbul. So within 24 hours of receiving this message saying that this man thought that she was having some sort of mental health concerns, we were on a plane. And we arrive in Istanbul not knowing whether it is a scam or whether we're walking into nothing and she's fine. But it wasn't a scam and she was certainly having mental health concerns. So we feel very grateful. These people were Syrian refugees displaced from their own homeland
It's
and
amazing.
looking after our girl, like not shoving her out onto the street because she said by the time we got to her, she couldn't speak properly. She was dressed with inside out, her dress was with a skirt on top, head wrapped in a scarf with tufts of hair coming out. And she was not the girl that we knew and loved. She's certainly our daughter and we love her, but it was not the girl that left on a beautiful holiday.
No way. Now, I was a firefighter EMT for a quarter century, and I've seen several of these types of incidents. And again, I couldn't imagine someone by themselves in a foreign country with people they didn't really know trying to take care of her, that you would have thought maybe they could have taken advantage of her at that point. Anyway, gosh, wow,
With
my heart goes out to you because that is a huge, every parent fears that sort of thing whenever their child goes anywhere, let alone cross
Without a
country.
doubt. We were really lucky about a month ago. My husband and I travelled overseas. Now, I'd met Hussein, this beautiful Syrian refugee that had called us. I'd met him before, but my husband never had. And he's now living in Denmark. And we went to Copenhagen and Hussein came to meet us. And we spent the day with him. And I have to tell you, that was my favourite part of being overseas too. And my husband to be able to touch and hug this man that had literally saved our daughter's life.
Literally.
Because if he hadn't have kept her safe and the other Syrian friends there, we would not, without a doubt, she would not be with us. Yeah.
Or just assume she's on drugs or something else. And, just, well, well, I tell you, it's
Strider, I
an
don't
amazing
think we would
story.
have found her. We would never have found her in
Never.
Istanbul. She
She
would have
would simply have
disappeared.
disappeared.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
So, how
yeah.
did you go about taking care of her then? Did you just take her back home at that point?
We thought maybe that we'd get there and she'd be fine. Well, of course, that was not the case. We got there on the Monday. Within the Wednesday, we were on a plane. But we have to get through. If anyone's ever been to Ataturk Airport, it's one of the busiest airports in the world. So we have to get her through this airport and without causing an international incident. Now there'd
Yes.
been a terrorist attack a few days before, so that the airport was not in lockdown, but it was tough to
High
get through.
security. Yeah.
High security. The getting onto the plane and dropping out my bag was fine, and Alice's bag was fine. My hippie, we call him the hippie vegan doctor son, had bought the tiniest of backpacks with him, so he had that as carry on. But it was the next queue, was the queue to get through the customs, and that was probably about a 2.5 hour wait, and to get a psychotic girl through that queue with claustrophobic crowds around her would have been impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So Jess said, we need to go to that queue and pointed to the business class queue. And I'm like, straighty 180, which is, no, we can't do that. That's not, no. And then he said, Mum, we have to ask because she cannot go in that line. And so we were very, very lucky, and we got through on the business class queue. There was nobody there. So they let us through, looked at our passports, and there we were into Ataturk Airport. And then we have to get her home. So on the plane, if she got up, I got up, or Jessie got up, she wanted to go to the toilet, we'd walk her to the toilet. And then we'd come back and sit in our seats. I'm the shortest at 5'11", and my daughter's 6 foot, and Jessie's 6'2". So we were all squished in together, and it was probably the best thing. But then we have to get her home to hospital to care, and that's
Yes.
what we did. Mm.
Did she recognize you and was taking part of this on her own behalf
Yeah,
also?
look, she did recognize us, and I don't know how she believed us, but certainly when we were in Istanbul, and her first look at us was to turn in the other direction and walk away. So the Syrians then point her back and encased her and walked her towards us. But when we got back to Australia, she didn't think she needed to go to hospital. She'd had a bit of sleep. She thought all she needed was yoga, and she didn't. She needed care. She needed health care. She needed to be on medication. And that's the hardest thing with mental health. It takes a while to find perhaps the right doctor and the right medication. So it's
Absolutely.
slowly but surely, and it can be months before you find the right combination of anything. So it's a lot of trial and error and frustration. We were just very fortunate, and I know others out there are not so fortunate as us.
Very true. True. And bipolar is extreme mood swings. So there will be times when they're
Mm.
normal, times they're very happy, times they're way in the pits. And it's just when you catch them. So, and how do you treat that? So it does take a long time to balance those and to balance the medications and things. So you decided to take this story, as traumatic as it was, and personal as it was, and yet turn it into a book. How did you decide to do that? And what was your process of going about that?
So the reason I decided was that when Alice was going through this in 2015, I went looking for books. I would ask the healthcare workers, the nurses, where can we go as parents, as siblings? We need some help. We need information. And they had no idea. Now in Australia, we do have health facilities that were around at the time, but I had no idea where they were
You haven't
or
needed them.
I hadn't needed them. So I went looking for a book. I couldn't find one. I needed something to say to me, you're okay. These feelings that you've gone through are okay to go through. And I just couldn't find one. So I started writing, not thinking that I had a book, thinking that I had an article. And it was always going to be anonymous because we were not breaking the silence due to stigma. And we were terrified
Sure,
that
it's
it would
difficult.
get out about Alice having a psychosis and then bipolar. And oh, that stigma is is terrible. And I
It's
think
huge.
that's why families remain silent. So when I started writing and I had more than an article, but not enough for a book, I then asked Jessie and Alice if they could write, and they did. Alice's writings on her psychosis are amazing, scary, wonderful, and informative. And mm,
It's hard. Well, you did a good job. You're an award-winning author, award-winning book. How have you how have you taken the authorship? Are you going to do any more writing of things? What's your future
I,
hold on this?
well, I'm a nurse, so I'm touchy-feely. Give me patience and talking to them and helping them through their crisis. Writing was very unfamiliar to me. But after writing this and then spending the last year twiddling my fingers, I've decided that I might write a a fiction book, a cozy crime. Um, but I did love the writing process. It was very cathartic, and certainly breaking the silence is one of the scariest but proudest things I've ever done. So definitely there's another book. Whether it gets published or not, I don't know, but I'm loving the writing bit. And I was talking with my 93-year-old dad yesterday, who was a lawyer, and I said to him, Dad, you must have a book in you. We could write one together. And he was like, okay, let's
Good
do it.
thinking. Yeah. Yep.
Mm.
Because he's had a lot of experiences too. Yes.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
Oh, I want to thank you for spending some time with us. It's scary, totally scary. Like I said, I'm a parent,
Yeah.
and to even think about my own children being by themselves in those journeys, having problems, I had to talk to you because this is something that so many parents go through. And how do you fix it? What do you do about it?
Mm. You've got to do what you've got to do.
This is Sarah Martin. She's written Dear Psychosis, an award-winning book. I want you all to check it out. And it will be on DurhamandPublishing.com, the bookstore there. And Sarah, in your new books, if you need any help, at DurhamandPublishing.com, there is a writer's resource page there for all those little helps you might need. Um,
Thank you very much for having me.
and thank you for the time frame awareness of my life. It's something I've stretched to meet now. Thank you.
Goodbye from the future.
Goodbye from the future. And the rest of you, I'll say goodbye from here too. And until next time, thank you.